What would life be like without bees? Bees are responsible for pollinating 1/3 of our food. Pollination determines the amount of food a crop will produce. Bad pollination leads to a bad crop. Bees help bring in over $14 billion in agriculture and $130 million in raw honey in a year alone.
Okay, my name is Rudy Peters, and I've been beekeeping for about 7 years now. And a year and a half ago, I went to UBC and got my master beekeeper designation. Bees are important for a couple of reasons. One is for pollination. Well, not all fruits, but about 3/4 of all the food you eat is directly the result of pollination, which without bees you would not have. There'd be no fruits, no vegetables. The only food you'd really would have to eat would be stuff that's wind pollinated, such as cereal grains and, well, water to drink, because there wouldn't be no orange juice. One of the biggest misconceptions about bees is, of course, courtesy of Hollywood and I think it was a 1970s movie called The Swarm, in which bees in a swarm, and they were made out to look like these bloodthirsty creatures from hell that were wanting to do nothing but kill you. Truth of the matter is, when bees swarm, it's their natural method of reproducing and making another hive or another colony. And what they do before they all leave the hive is they go and, of course, pack a snack for the road. And so their honey stomachs is so full of honey, they're actually physically incapable of flexing their abdomen to sting you. And they have to be able to flex their abdomen to extend the stinger. So if you see a big bee swarm, you can relax. They're not out to kill you.
There are many health benefits of bees and their byproducts. Honey is a natural antibiotic. It is used in burn wards to help speed up recovery. Local honey also reduces pollen allergies. Bee venom is being used in studies of MS treatment. The world's most expensive furniture polish is made out of bee propolis.
So how and why did I start keeping bees? The house that we live in when we moved here in '99 still does, and it had a really big cherry tree in the backyard. And on a spring summer day, and when the tree was in bloom, you could hear the tree from the deck. It literally hummed. That was probably about 8 years ago or so, roughly. We went from having literally wheelbarrows of cherries that we couldn't give away enough to having like an ice cream pail. And so one day I took a lawn chair and I sat down underneath the tree and just kind of curious, was counting bees. And in about an hour, I only counted 10. So you didn't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that pollination was probably the biggest contributing factor as to why we weren't getting cherries anymore. And so I started looking into what it was that took to keep bees and what was involved, and got a couple of hives and discovered that I kind of liked it. And then I got some more, and it kind of grew on me, and now it's a hobby that's run amok.
Sadly, bees have been slowly disappearing. People say it's because of colony collapse disorder, which has caused the hive loss to increase from 15% to 30 to 90%. Without honeybees, pollination will rely on wild bees alone, which will burden them significantly because they are also disappearing.
So what is colony collapse disorder, or CCD? It's also been called the sudden cash deficiency syndrome. Uh, Back in the early 90s, there's a guy in the US who coined this phrase for why his hives were dying, and he apparently didn't have any better explanation, and he called it colony collapse disorder. And it really is a bit of a misnomer. Best way to describing it is a confluence of variables coming together at the same time at the same place, and it's just the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back. I mean, you have environmental issues, you have nutritional issues, you have pesticides, herbicides, fungicide issues, and they just all come together at the same point, and then the colony just goes, we give up, we surrender, we die, we're out of here. And it's really not as much of a mystery as people make it out to be. There's some very simple answers for it. The big thing, though, is it requires that it changes the way we do agriculture. So what can you do to help bees? Well, everybody can do something, and you can start by not using lawn weed and feed products on your lawn. Right? Yet better, don't have a lawn. It's a green desert. There's nothing beneficial for pollinators in your lawn at all. Plant, let your front yard or go to wildflowers, or plant fruit trees, or plant flowering shrubs, stuff that will flower. Have stuff in your yard that'll flower throughout the summer. Uh, the other thing is a bit more of a bigger scale, and that's agriculture itself has to change the way it does. Go get away from the big monocultures, leave the hedgerows, go wild again, so we can have pollinator corridors throughout agriculture. And the big thing is simply reduce our dependency on chemicals, fertilizers, or as well as chemical insecticides, pesticides, fungicides. I'm like, you can only dump so much toxic waste into the environment before it just will implode in on itself and kill everything, including us.
Crops rely on pollination from bees. Without bees, we would have limited food options, as well as they bring in a lot of money for the government. We need to help protect the bees because we rely on them to survive.